I moved into the Blackwell Tower in late November, just as the city began to lose its color to winter. The building was old, but it had character: tall ceilings, creaking hardwood, and those vintage cage-style elevators that looked like they belonged in a black and white movie, just enough to look out and see the city as lights stretching into the distance like an electric river. I was still settling in and packing boxes, memorizing the rhythm of the pipes behind the walls, and adjusting to the occasional groan of the elevator shaft. Nothing too unusual. I found that charming. At least I used to. My unit was on the 7th floor, not too high, not too low, except for one thing, so I just assumed this building was the exception. Maybe the architect wasn't superstitious, maybe it was a quirk, like the rest of the place. The elevator panel had a button labeled 13 now. Anyone who's ever lived in an old American building knows that developers often skip the 13th floor superstition, they say. Whether someone pressed to 9, 12, or even 14, the numbers blinked in order: 10, 11, 12, and then straight to 14. The 13 button was there, but it never lit up. Not once. But here's the thing. The elevator never stopped on 13. I had just come back from a late grocery run. Frozen dumplings, the usual comfort food. The lights flickered overhead in that cheap fluorescent way that makes you feel like your eyes are glittery. The wallpaper was faded gold, peeling in thin vertical strips. The carpet was maroon, soaked through in some places, as if water had been dripping for years. Just doors identica, pale wood, stretching endlessly down both sides of the hall, and each one had a peephole, but not the standard kind. These were huge, bulging glass pieces that looked more like eyes than people. I swear I could feel them watching me. Everything smelled like rotten copper, and it was cold, far colder than it should have been indoors. Nothing. Just that soft electric hum above me, and the feeling subtle at first, that the hallway was longer now than it had been seconds before. The elevator doors slid open with their usual rusty sigh, and for reasons I can't explain. I pressed the 13. I watched carefully during my first week. Curiosity got the better of me around my 10th day in the building. It was close to midnight. The button lit up. The lights dimmed slightly as we passed the 12th floor. It shouldn't have. It never had before. The elevator began to rise slowly, groaning like it was lifting the weight of something ancient. 10. Hallucinating from too much stress and too little real food. But as I turned back toward the hallway, I noticed something that made my skin tighten. Then, we stopped. Just darkness. And that same sound. Breathing. Ragged, wet, and hungry. The display above the door flickered. It didn't say 30 and it didn't say anything. Just shallow, raspy, close to the ground, like someone struggling to breathe through a collapsed lung. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just stood there, heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted out. I figured if something had come out of it, then maybe it led somewhere else. Somewhere back to normal. Just a dull, red line flickering in and out, like it didn't know where we were. When the doors opened, it was wrong. Not scary. Not at first, just wrong. The hallway ahead was longer than any floor I'd seen in the building. Standing in front of my kitchen counter, groceries still in my hands. The bag of frozen dumplings had melted, dripping cold water through the plastic. I stepped out, leaving one foot inside the elevator, as if some part of me knew this place wasn't meant to be walked. That's when I noticed the doors. There were no apartment numbers. I took a cautious step forward. The elevator doors slammed shut behind me. I spun around, hitting the call button again and again. I told myself it was fine. I was dreaming. Sleepwalking, maybe. One of the doors at the far end had opened just a crack. It hadn't been opened before. It was still quiet, like a mouth slightly ajar in surprise. I backed up, eyes fixed on that opening, feeling the instinct in my spine scream go back. But there was nowhere to go. Then, the hallway light above me popped, dropping me into sit. From within the cracked door, I heard breathing. Not loud, not heavy. Another door creaked open closer this time. I couldn't see who, or what, was behind them. My instincts took over. I ran, not away from the hallway. There was nowhere else to go but toward the door that had opened first. I flung it open. Light. I was in my apartment just like that. I checked the clock. 12:02 a.m. 2 minutes had passed. Only 2. But I swear to you, I was gone for longer than that. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in my kitchen with the light on, watching the condensation pool beneath the groceries I never put away. Every creak in the hallway outside, every sigh from the building's old bones made me flinch. People probably thought I was just trying to stay in shape. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. How could I? I kept looking at the elevator through the peephole in my door, expecting it to open on its own. It didn't, but somehow that made it worse. By morning, I had convinced myself it was a waking dream, a stress-induced hallucination. I had just moved in. My job was piling on pressure. I hadn't been eating properly. It made sense, right? Still, I avoided the elevator. For a week, I took the stairs. 7 flights up and down every day. Then, something strange started happening. I began seeing the number 13 everywhere. Apartment 413 had its digits fall off and stick to the ground in the hallway, except the 4 was gone. Just 13, something about how, decades ago, back when the building was new, there had been a 13th floor. But something happened, a fire, maybe a collapse. No one ever agreed on what exactly went wrong. But there were deaths, horrible ones. After that, the building owners bricked up the entire floor, not just abandoned it, erased it. Still quiet. A delivery box outside someone's door was labeled 2 Unit 13 ULL nowhere. And worst of all, one morning, I found a sticky note slipped under my door. It read, in shaky pen. I kept thinking, what was that place? Why did it feel like it was waiting? Most of them were useless, but one article from 1974 caught my eye. It was in the back pages of a scanned local newspaper, barely visible. The headline read, "Don't go again, it knows you now." There was no signature, no clue who left it. For residents had entered the elevator one night and never came out. No bodies were found. No evidence of foul play. The building claimed it was a mechanical failure. The case was quietly dropped. I asked the old woman in 705, a sweet lady with too many cats and too much perfume, if anyone had been by my door. She just squinted and said, "This floor doesn't get much traffic." Not since the accident. That word, I'd gone somewhere that wasn't supposed to exist. And it had noticed me. Accident. It's still there, it's just not always there for everyone. I pushed her gently for more, and over a cup of instant coffee, she told me what little she remembered. But, she added, leaning in like she was sharing a secret, she didn't fully believe herself. Some say it never really left. I asked her what that meant, but she only smiled, like she had already said too much. Who the hell rings a doorbell at that hour? That night I stood outside the elevator, staring at the panel. The 13 button was still there, still dull, but it felt like it was watching me. I told myself I wouldn't press it again, that I was smarter than that. But deep down, curiosity had already sunk its claws in. That question festered in my brain like rot. I started doing research, digging into old city records. Tenants vanish after elevator malfunction. Investigation closed. The details were vague, but in the grainy black and white photo attached, I saw something that turned my blood to ice. In the background, behind the firemen and onlookers, the elevator panel was visible. The 13 button was lit, just like it had been for me. That was the moment I knew this was real. Not a dream, not a breakdown. That night, my doorbell rang. It was past midnight. I froze. I looked through the peephole. No one, just the empty hallway, dimly lit by the flickering bulb overhead. Then, as I turned to walk away, I heard a whisper. Not from outside, from the elevator. It was soft, like a breath against my ear. A single word, stretched and broken, like it came from a throat unused to speaking calm. I didn't sleep. I didn't move. I just sat on my couch, lights blazing, until the sun came up. In the morning, I made a decision. I was going to find out what the hell was on the 13th floor and why it was calling me. I didn't tell anyone what I planned to do. Not that anyone would have believed me. I just waited until the building went silent to AM, when even the city outside seemed to hold its breath. I stood before the elevator like a man approaching his own grave. The 13 button waited for me. I pressed it. This time, the light turned red. The elevator moved slower. No floor numbers blinked. Just a mechanical groan, like it hated every inch of the climb. When the doors opened, I stepped into the same hallway but darker. All the lights were out. The only glow came from the elevator behind me, dim and red. As soon as I stepped forward, the doors behind me vanished. The air was heavy, thick like fog, and colder than before. The walls felt closer. I walked cautiously, trying to breathe slow, but the hallway seemed longer with each step. Some of the doors were open now, just a crack, but I didn't dare look in. Not quite me. My face was off, my eyes too wide. My mouth mid-scream. I turned, but the door was gone, replaced by more mirrors. In one reflection, I saw it, and then all the reflections changed. Insect eyes, twitching, blinking independently. I ran, crashing into mirror after mirror, until a wall twisted open like a mouth, revealing a narrow hallway. The breathing returned, wet, shallow, closer. The halls bent and twisted, and then I kept moving. At the end of the hall stood a door, unlike the others, black metal, no handle, just a plaque scratched with the number 13. Against all reason, I touched it. It opened without sound, revealing a room lit in soft red. The walls were mirrors, floor-to-ceiling mirrors, that reflected. Something moved differently. My socks were soaked in something black and sticky, and in the reflection of my microwave, I saw one of my eyes blink out of sync with the other. A version of me smiled, but it wasn't human. Its grin stretched too far. Its eyes didn't blink. They showed strangers now, people banging on the inside of the mirrors, begging to get out. Their mouths moved in silence. One cracked the glass from inside. The breathing grew louder, and something stepped into the reflection, a tall, black shape with too many eyes. I fled through it. Shadows moved around me. Doors screamed when I touched them. A door, old wooden. I burst through and landed back in my apartment. 2:37 a.m. Only 12 minutes had passed, but I wasn't the same. Tiny cuts covered my hands and face. Just for a second, but it was enough. After that night, I stopped leaving my apartment. I couldn't. Every time I passed the elevator, even to take out the trash, I felt its presence, like something breathing through metal. The 13 button didn't light up anymore, but I knew it was still there. Weighty. Then things inside the apartment began changing. Too faint to understand, but always there. I emailed, I messaged, nothing reached out. It was like I no longer existed. Small at first. Furniture shifted slightly while I slept. My fridge reorganized itself into spirals. The bathroom mirror showed the hallway behind me even when the door was shut. The worst was the scratching inside the walls, beneath the floor. Constant, deliberate. I tried calling people, but every number gave me static and something whispering beneath it. One night the power died. Total blackout. The doors were already open, bathed in red. No panel, no buttons, no numbers. Just me and the thing waiting. Except the elevator. The mirrors on the walls warped again, showing the building twisted and broken, like it had been rotting for decades. It groaned awake. I knew what it wanted. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the hole. I stepped in, the elevator began moving. Not up or down, just moving. No one would question it. No one would know. Then they went black. Its skin cracked like old paint. Its eyes were black voids. It pointed behind itself, to my apartment door. When the doors opened, I saw it. At the end of a bare, concrete hallway stood me, but wrong. And I understood it had left, and I had taken its place. I turned, trying to flee, but the walls became mirror again, and in them, I saw the creature, now in my home, walking like it belonged. Because to them, it was me. I screamed. I pounded the mirror walls. They turned to water. I sank into the dark, breath stolen. And then I woke up. Groceries in my hand. 12:01 a.m. for words in red ink. Like nothing had happened. Except now, the 13 button was gone. Not dim. Gone. The panel didn't even have a space for it anymore. I ran to my apartment. Everything looked normal except on the table sat an old black and white photo. It showed the 13th floor. Long ago. Clean, bright. People smiling. Including me. Right in the center. On the back, "You live here now."